Okay, here we go, folks. Hey, hope you guys are doing good tonight. My name is Rick Jerrels. I'm a Royal Diamond with Valentus. And in my past, I had run I guess you could call it a detox clinic. And I had all kinds of equipment. I had frequency generation. I had, this thing called a Wellness Pro, which would beam frequencies into certain areas. I had a thing called a light beam generation equipment. I mean, some of this stuff was like 30 grand, 38 grand when it first came out, brand new. It was pretty high speed, low drag stuff. And I also used what is called, the generic name is foot bath. And basically what the foot bath does is it creates negatively charged hydrogen ions, and they actually go into the feet and they attach themselves to positively charged particles. And then when you reverse the polarity in the water, it actually pulls that stuff right out of your feet non-invasively. And of course, obviously, it's very tiny, tiny stuff. So a lot of stuff that's in the body is actually broken up, floating around the bloodstream and the liver and the kidneys. So if you can collect some of that stuff out of the bloodstream and pull it out naturally, then you're going to actually be boosting your immune system, and you're going to actually be removing toxins, those type positively charged toxins from the body. So the causes that is going on here in our country and the world, really, in the world, we have a lot of folks that are getting sick because of the toxins that are in our air, our food, and our water, right? So what's in our air? I mean, here's some of the things I listed just off the top of my head. Industrial chemicals from plants and factories and cars. And I haven't seen too many chemtrails in the last couple months, but I think they're still going on, and who knows what they have in those. I researched it once, found out, and just said I can't do anything about it right now. But now we can. We can help protect ourselves from these types of chemicals that we're breathing in or ingesting or drinking, and they're going into our bodies. We now have a product that's going to help clean up the bloodstream. Now, in the sense that Max helps increase the circulation and uncoagulates some of the red blood cells and increases oxygen that way, I can only imagine a combo of the Max and the new Zeolite product. Absolutely incredible. You got one replenished, one that's a replenish and a detox, the more, and then you've got our new Zeolite, which is a remove or a detox. So you've got three powerful products to really help with circulation in the body. And it's pretty exciting because the Zeolite will help remove some of this. I mean, every single year, supposedly some 2,600 to 3,600, and I wrote 4,600 new chemicals are entering the jet stream every single year. And, it can enter in China and then rain on Britain or rain on the USA. It can enter from Japan, like that radiation situation they had where it literally went all the way to the coast of California. You have volcanic eruptions too that bring all kinds of chemicals in the air from the earth. So our air is one way we're breathing in chemicals, okay? Industrial chemicals and heavy metals. Both of those are usually positively charged from a cellular standpoint. I'm not going to get into all that. And here in our foods, I mean, let's look at what is in our foods now. I mean, it seems like most of the governments around the world now are starting to ban organic foods, or they're reducing them in the grocery stores. So there's some major incentives going on with some of these companies that we don't want really to be controlling everything, are somehow reducing the organic population of vegetables, and they're increasing all of this stuff that are either boxed, bagged, or canned. Anything that's boxed, bagged, or canned, you're going to have additives, colorants, flavorants, preservatives, And then obviously you have pesticides. Now the main difference between organic and non-organic, and this is why I buy organic, is that about 5 days before they actually pick the plant or the crop, they stop putting the pesticides on or the herbicides. And so you've got 5 days where that plant and that fruit can kind of clear itself of some of those pesticides and chemicals. So you are taking in less of these industrial chemicals. I mean, they sell all of these things that are listed right here on this slide. They sell in like these big, oil looking drums, big industrial chemical drums. Okay. So, these things are really bad. And if you go to the grocery store nowadays, almost everything on the shelf has some of this stuff in it. Some of it is completely loaded with it, especially colorants like candy, for example. Anything that has color in the grocery store, I'd say 99% of it has some sort of chemical, red, blue, number 5, or, yellow, number 4. This stuff is not good for your kidneys and your liver. And it's positively charged, okay? Okay, and GMO, I mean, look at the bioengineered plants and food. I mean, it's almost like our livers are rejecting this stuff. It's not that we're so much allergic to gluten, it's that our bodies are just rejecting this type of bioengineered food. It's not completely 110% naturally grown. And it's really void of the kind of nutrition that we need, that our bodies need. So here's some stuff in our water. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and this is a long time ago. We're talking, let's see, teenager would have been 40 years ago. So as a kid, about 8 years old, I remember going to Mammoth Mountain in California and drinking out of the spring waters that were up at the top of the mountain. It was during the summer, and we were fishing in these little tiny lakes all over and catching little tiny fish. But the water, you could literally just take your hands down there, scoop it up and drink it 45, 50 years ago and not get sick and not get, some type of illness. Nowadays, you've got to have, these packs of chlorinated tablets and everything else to go with it in order just to purify a cup of water from a stream in most of the places around the world now. But a lot of this industrial spill waste runoff, underground springs, for example, people drink right out of their faucet. I highly would say do not do that, okay? Do not drink straight out of your faucet water or your hose. When I was a kid, we used to drink out of the hose, out of the faucet. It was no big deal. Now, what has happened is, and that's because a lot of the water companies had gone to using spring water to deliver it to the houses, and they would still chlorinate it and probably ruin it versus just getting it to the house. I grew up in Long Beach, California. At that time, 45 years ago, Long Beach's water was considered best in the country. But now, the water companies are now going back to surface water because the underground springs are full of arsenic and other heavy metals, aluminum, cadmium, barium, mercury. And so it's getting harder and harder to purify this water. So they've gone back to surface water. And that's what you're getting in most places in the country. Of course, if you have your own place out in the middle of nowhere and you've dug your well, and I would highly recommend you get your well water tested too. Because I have a friend who owned a place in Conroe, had a well, thought they were drinking the best water ever. And she was like diagnosed with fatigue syndrome, chronic fatigue. And I said, hey, what's going on? She goes, well, we just moved into this place about a month ago. I said, well, where are you getting your water? That was the first thing out of my mouth. And she said, oh, from the well. And I said, well, have you had it tested? No. So about 2 weeks later, she called me back and said, we tested the well water. It was full of arsenic. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, you can't drink that. I said, there's only a certain level of all these chemicals or these heavy metals that you can have into your body and not get sick. And that's the huge problem. We got heavy metals getting into the body at rates, 100 times higher than what the water companies would even recommend. And the water companies are giving you these reports that are actually, in my opinion, that's way too high. You're getting too much. And so you have to have some sort of filtration system in your home to pull this stuff out. But now, I guess we could say we have a product that is a mini filtration system. And I just came up with that, by the way. I'm liking that, filtration system, because that's what it is. Unlike a filter where the water is pressed through it, like in my refrigerator, and then the different types of filters, the carbon, the cloth, whatever they're using, several different filters in one little canister. It's forced through there, and then what comes out is you hope that the viruses and bacteria and the the parasites and all the heavy metals have been completely reduced and removed, most of those. But we also have in our bloodstream, there's whole viruses where I'm not going to say that this product cures people of viruses. It doesn't cure people of anything. What it will do, though, is it will remove tiny virus and bacterial and parasitic particles, meaning pieces, okay? And the more you get out of you, the healthier you're going to get. So all this is doing is going in there and it's going to capture this stuff and remove it. So same thing with our causes of sickness. There's a lack of real nutrition or minerals in our food and water. And there's a government document, I think it's from the late 60s or early 70s, that literally states 99% of us are mineral deficient. So if the ground is never rested, which is what they do, they don't rest the ground anymore. They just pump it full of nitrogen. And they grow, they're growing these vegetables and fruits because the demand is so high and they have to profit. So they don't rest their land. Especially if you're a smaller farmer, it's harder to rest your land. And I'm sure a lot of small farmers actually do the right thing and do so. But if you look at soil, if there's no minerals that have been replenished by something growing up, dying, and then replenishing that soil, if you're just pumping nitrogen into it, you're getting probably a whole bunch of nitrogen in your plant and a whole bunch of nitrogen in your fruit as well. And so if the ground is never rested, it never regenerates. Plus the processing, anything bagged, canned, or boxed is going to be depleted of nutrition. I mean, look at all the dry stuff, dry noodles, dry, the bread that you add water. I mean, there are so many things that are not really natural, and they've processed it to a point where, they got to package it that way. It's easier to sell, easier to package, and then people take it home and they overcook it, or they put it on such high heat, they're killing the nutrients, or they're microwaving it, which literally changes the cell structure within food. Certain cells will change from a round organism to a diamond or sharp pointed organism, much like what happens to milk when they pasteurize it. Okay, so what's the result of toxins in our air, food and water, and a lack of real nutrition in our food and water? Well, we have an overworked liver that can't get rid of everything. It doesn't know what to do with it, so it starts storing it in the liver and storing it in the gallbladder in the form of gallstones and liver stones. And that's why everybody, by the time they're 50 or 55, has to go to the doctors and have them clean out their liver or their gallbladder of stones. Or in the past, they used to just remove the whole gallbladder, which was a huge mistake because it has a function in the body. And the function is when you're eating foods, it goes down in the intestines, into the large intestines. And if something is undigested, when it hits that last 9 feet, it signals the liver to signal the gallbladder to release more bile, which is basically body acid, to continue to break down that food so it doesn't sit there and rot in your colon. And then you're going to have overworked kidneys. How many, I mean, goodness gracious, if you go driving around your neighborhood or your city or community, how many of these places, these dialysis places, have popped up in the last 15 years? I mean, it is out of control. They're everywhere. And it's a huge profit to say, you know, your kidneys are no longer working. You got one bad kidney. You need to start doing dialysis. And then, you know, overworked pancreas. A lot of the pancreas, if you have pancreatitis, for example, that can be the pancreas, this little tiny sensitive vessels. It only takes, you know, one really bad food to shut those things down or to hurt them. And plus you can get stones, just like in the liver and gallstones, in the pancreas. And then also what happens is, as a result of all these chemicals and heavy metals going into the body over 30, 40 years, you get an acidity situation. And the symptoms of this breakdown of your body is basically high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and high blood cholesterol. Now, there's a whole bunch more symptoms, but I just kept it to just 3 that everybody seems to know about and deal with. A contributor would be yeast. Now, the thing that people don't understand is almost everybody has yeast. If you've had a bunch of antibiotics in your life, you probably have yeast in your intestine and don't know it. And when they give you colonoscopies or sigmoidoscopies, they can't detect that stuff. You know, you've got 30 feet of small intestine. You've got about only 1.5 feet through the stomach to the small intestine. And then you've got 9 feet at the very end of large intestine. The rest of that is small intestine, and they do not go into the small intestine with a sigmoidoscopy. They may go a little bit, but that's it. And with a colonoscopy, they only check the large intestine. So you got 30 feet in your colon that are harboring huge amounts of parasites and yeast, and most people don't even know it. What they will be feeling, though, is itchy skin, fatigue. They'll have stuff coming out of their skin. You know, like, I mean, if they're older and they're feeling like they're a teenager, that means their liver's not working. You'll have, what happens when somebody gets yeast as well, a serious yeast problem, and they don't know it, is that the yeast tends to store these toxins like heavy metals in them. So high blood cholesterol, and then the body's inability to process, break down, and dispose or remove of toxins in an expedient manner, and to assimilate and absorb proper nutrition. Okay? I explain these first 5 slides because I think it's important to understand that we have a product now that helps with this. Can you believe this? We have a filter. We have a product called a zeolite. They're like little tiny cages, and they go into our bodies, and it's a naturally occurring zeolite. It's like a cage, a negatively charged cage. And as it's rotating around in the bloodstream, it's drawing all these positive toxins into the cage. And then within about 4 to 6 hours, when you're peeing and going to the restroom, it comes out of you. And so literally, we have the best natural detoxifier in the world at Valentus. This is just my opinion. Natural occurring mineral. They find it in many different areas, rock quarries, different areas of the US, different areas of Canada. They're in Russia. I mean, the zeolites are everywhere, okay? And it's all naturally occurring. So what they do is they take that soil and they break it all down, and then they, you know, run it through the processing, and then what you're supposed to have left is just an empty, negatively charged cage. And it's extremely small. Small enough, like I said, to carry out viral particles, to carry out bacterial particles. And I'm not talking about carrying out a full virus, all right? It's not going to eliminate anything like that. But it's going to get everything that's hanging around that shouldn't be around. Maybe stuff that's stuck to the side of the bloodstream, okay? But anything that is an industrial chemical or a heavy metal that's charged positive is going to get attracted to this cage right there in the middle of it and in here. This is a 3 dimension. So on all sides, there is an area here where a positively charged particle can get trapped in that cage. Okay, so the cage is negatively charged and attracts positively charged particles, traps them and carries them out through the natural urinating process. Isn't that fun? So it's very simple. And I could tell you stories, honestly, that would absolutely blow you away, but I don't plan on telling any stories. I'm just going to tell everybody here that everybody that you love, know, and care about needs to be drinking this zeolite mineral on a daily basis, whatever the instructions say for them to do. So basically, it removes heavy metals. What are we talking about here? What are the big problems in some of the diseases out there is aluminum, mercury, lead, arsenic. Those are all involved in major neurological diseases that are out there now. So what if we had something that would benefit the body or help the body to cleanse itself and to remove itself of toxins, especially since as we get older, our liver and our pancreas just don't work as well, and neither do the kidneys. You know, depending on how many cases of Coca-Cola you've drank in your lifetime. You know, every time you drink one Coke, supposedly it takes like 33 glasses of water to wash out the phosphoric acid that is going into your liver and your kidneys. So, you know, you really have to be careful about what you're putting in your body and, you know, on your body too. I didn't even talk about the skin. I mean, goodness gracious, you know, in my opinion, all the skin problems started when people started using the skin protection stuff that had all the chemicals in it. And to this day, they still do. I don't have mine in front of me, but the only thing I use is that Hawaiian Tropic. It's got like 5 things in it, and 4 of them are like coconut oil, banana oil, you know, I can't remember the other 2, but it's all oil. It's all naturally derived oils. I don't go out and put, even if I'm in full sun, I don't go out and put, you know, a list of chemicals that is like 30 long, so-and-so benzoate and sulfate this and sulfate that, because when that sun burns that chemical on your skin, what do you think's happening? First, your body's absorbing those chemicals, okay? And so, I mean, what would make anybody think with common sense that a bunch of chemicals is the thing you want to put on your skin to protect your skin? It is not. You want to put naturally derived oils to help keep that skin moist while it's in full sun. Not necessarily as an attractor of sun, but a protector. So basically, the zeolite is negatively charged and the toxins are positively charged. You know, cadmium, mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminum, these are all serious issues. And guess what? We have a product that will capture some of that stuff, and we can naturally just go to the restroom and it comes out. It is amazing stuff. It stays in the body about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how many drops you take. You know, and I remember when people were really sick, I was telling them to drink all kinds of, you know, amounts. You know, this product here, back in 2005 and 2008, I was in the $500,000 club in the first year and a half in that company. I think I went on to make almost 2 to 3 million over a 12-year period, and I was only active 3 years. So I had a residual income of 9 years because people believed in this product and they didn't stop drinking it or taking it. And it's truly an amazing product, and I'm excited that Valentus has it. I think this is going to add another 3 to 10 million per month to our company volume, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm still researching some of it. I need to find out some specific questions from the formulator, and then once I do, I'll pass those on. But from here, from what I'm seeing, it looks like we're really got something exciting here that's going to impact people's lives, and people are going to feel the difference. Maybe not right away, but understand it takes like between 30 to 60 to 90 days for some of these heavy metals to actually be measured as being reduced in the body, okay? So just to understand that. If I told you the stories of people I knew personally, and what they had and what happened, it would absolutely blow you away. You would forget about every other product, and you would start making sure that everybody in the entire world was drinking this zeolite on a daily basis. And the manufacturing process does matter, okay? It all matters how it's made, how the cage is cleaned out, because there's a lot of zeolites out there, I will tell you, that I will not take. And most of the zeolites that I won't take are powdered. Do not take anything that's powdered. It hasn't been processed. They basically just went and scooped up the dirt, and then you put that dirt in your body. Oh, okay. Maybe they have a way to filtrate the dirt out and but I'll tell you right now, I've never found that before. So be careful about taking anything that is powdered when it comes to a zeolite. I would only take a liquid, and it would have to be, you know, fairly clear, and a little bit murky, but fairly clear, because the problem, what I have seen with the powdered zeolites, this is my personal experience, I'm not going to name any companies, there's been a bunch, is that, you know, with powdered zeolites, you're not getting all the impurities out of the cage. So you're literally putting a full cage into your system. So how is it going to collect particles if it's already full going in? It's not. So it's a very simple process, guys. Toxins are positively charged. Our zeolite is negatively charged. It captures those toxins. You just literally put it in water, you put it in your mouth, and then drink water. You get it into your bloodstream and let it do its thing. And I think we're going to have some incredible stories here. You know, once everybody gets on this, we're going to have some, I mean, I'm telling you, we'll have some incredible stories, and I'm excited about it. So, like I said, I made a residual income for 12 years off this. The only reason it didn't go longer was because the former owner, Dave, and I had been working with him. And when he found out I was making money over here, he took my check. My check at the time was about $600-700 a month, but still, that's almost a mortgage payment for a lot of people. So, you know, thank God I'm not with that company anymore. So I'm feeling pretty blessed here at Valentus, and I just want to hand this knowledge and this excitement down to people and let them go and run with it, and have faith knowing that this is an incredible product, and it is definitely going to be a product that you're going to want as a foundational product. You know, you're going to want the trace mineral, the more, the max, and the zeolite. I just call it zeolite on here. I didn't want to put any name on there yet. But, you know, so this is a very generic presentation, but we're gonna be excited. We're gonna have a great time. So I'm excited. As you can see, I'm kind of excited. So with that, I just wanted to say thanks for being on. I'm gonna open it up for questions right after I stop the recording here. And I hope you guys got something out of this. See, this is my approach to this, because this is what I was doing back in 2001 to 2005, right out of my house. I was going to people's houses from 6 a.m. to midnight, and I was helping bring some people back from the dead practically, but so many others had passed away, and it became just exhausting and emotional. You would, you know, over a 3-week time, when I'm seeing somebody every day and spending time with them, trying to cleanse them and remove these toxins, and they're stage 3 or 4 of something, and then they die, I get invited to funerals because, you know, providing comfort and that kind of stuff to people close to death. But it was just, for me, it was emotionally exhausting, and it was so cumbersome to use all this equipment. And then when Dave Jordan came along and told me about it back in 2005, I was like, are you kidding me? I said, why didn't you tell me about this like 3 months ago? Because he had approached me in July, but then didn't talk about the zeolite mineral until like October. And I signed up November 1st, and 60 days later, I was a diamond, and 90 days later, I was a single diamond. and on my way to 35,000 a month. It was pretty crazy. So anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to stop the recording, and then you guys can ask some questions if you want. So thanks for being on. Rick Jerrels, Royal Diamond, Valentus, signing off.